His name is Jay St. Clair, and he joins us on the program on these Fridays. Hello, Jay. How are you?
Hey, buddy. You know what, man? I think the only way I could be better is if I were Smokey. Dang, I bet he's fired up.
I bet he is. Gotta chomp on some elephant meat this weekend, right? Love it. Absolutely love it. That's old school. All these newbies that think that, oh, it's Tennessee, Florida, or it's Tennessee, Georgia. No. That's old school hatred in the college football world. Am I right?
We didn't. I guess you never knew me when I had Smokey.
I did not know Smokey, but you had a Smokey, right?
And then Junior, I had Smokey Junior.
Oh.
Did you ever know Junior?
I didn't know Junior. I think the first dog that I met that you had was Blue.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to come up with another 10, like Nealon or whatnot. And couldn't come up with, so it's Blue Tick Hounds, right? They're all Blue Tick Hounds. And so Lauren said, well, why don't you name him Blue? And I said, that's brilliant. Right? Because the dog in Cool Hand Luke, you know, the bloodhound that tracks Luke down and dies, runs himself to death, his name was Blue.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's a big way. That's a good week, and it should be a lot of fun at Neyland Stadium in the great state of Tennessee. I doubt that Jay St. Clair will be watching that football game live, but I know your son will.
Oh, yeah.
And I know your grandson will.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They're all in.
Yeah, I'm sure Chuck and me's whole family. I tell you, the game I regret the most not going to, it was in Birmingham a while back, and it was when Peyton Manning was quarterback, and they scored on the first play of the game and went on to score 4 touchdowns in the first quarter. It's 28-0. It's just a great game. So we'll see. I don't expect that for them, but, you know, they'll turn this, I don't have my hopes up, Matt, but they'll turn the scoreboard on.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's my understanding they're going to turn the lights on, the scoreboard on, and they're going to play a football game tomorrow.
Yeah, they're going to play football. Absolutely.
Jay, this is I find this to be a great opportunity, and I'm sad that Lily Ledbetter passed away, but Lily Ledbetter passed away. We've all got it coming. She is a name known to many people that have followed politics over the last, couple of decades, I suppose. But you probably know the story of Lily Ledbetter better than anybody, maybe in the United States of America, certainly in the state of Tennessee right now, because you really did. You were on the ground living through this. Talk to people about your experience as an employment attorney and your experience with Goodyear and your experience with Lily Ledbetter.
For those that don't know, Lily Ledbetter was a supervisor at a Goodyear tire plant in Gadsden, Alabama. She started working there in the early 70s, and her career ended in the late 90s. She was there for about 19 years. And at the end of her career, after she was let go as part of a reduction force, she sued, claiming many things, and mostly about her termination. Well, it was actually mostly about a 3-day suspension. That's what really got her worked up, was a 3-day suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Went to see a lawyer, and so as lawyers do, they threw in the kitchen sink. And one of the other claims they threw in, just kind of as an afterthought, was discrimination in pay, claiming that she had been paid less than men because she's a woman. And that case went on for a couple of years, and we got a lot of it thrown out, and eventually 2 claims went to court, and one was this pay claim, and the other was a retaliation claim about her termination. And here's what the lawyers did, and I'm very good friends with her now. We got to be good friends out of it. So she was there for 19 years, and they have a merit-based compensation system. If it's got to go to a break, I'll speed up.
No, you're fine. We got 3 or 4 minutes.
All right, and so they had a merit-based system. Every year you get an evaluation, give you a raise. And they did that for 19 years. Well, I have a lot of respect for Lily, but I'm just going to put it down there with the goats to get to it. She wasn't real good at her job.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't let go. And the way they dealt with that was on pay raises every year. And she'd get a 2% raise, and, other people get 3 or 4%. That goes on for 19 years. And then she was let go, goes to a lawyer, files a lawsuit, pay discrimination. The lawyer says, well, we're going to go back 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
We're challenging every pay decision, every annual raise that she got over the last 19 years. So I'm getting ready to try the case. I represent Goodyear in the case. And I'm getting ready to try it. And I'm in the conference room. I think it's on the weekend. I got a little white, little flip chart up there. So I have all the years written down. And I'm trying to decide how I'm going to try the case. So I have a column for witnesses, a column for documents. How am I going to prove? So it's really 19 trials.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going back. I started the current year, and I've got great evidence, great witnesses. We're going to win that. I go back another year, and we've got a witness. Okay. I get about 4 or 5 years back, man, and I realize I can't try this case. I don't have any witnesses. I don't have any documents. I don't even know what happened. And so that's when I came up with the idea that, no, they can't do that. There's a statute of limitations. You can't wait forever to bring a lawsuit.
Right.
And in these claims, it's actually pretty quick. It's only 180 days. And so my argument was she can only challenge the last decision because that's the only one that was made in 180 days. The judge didn't agree with that. He let them try the case over 19 years. They won, got a big verdict. And then it ultimately went to the United States Supreme Court, and they said, Jay, you are right.
That's got to be kind of nice.
Which is nice.
Which is nice.
It was great, man. I did not actually argue the case. I was on the brief. The way Supreme Court's argument worked now is there's this little cottage industry of people that's all they do.
But did you get Ginsburg?
So I'm at the oral argument. I'm sitting at counsel table. I'm 20 feet away from the justices. And they're hammering the other side with questions. And because they let the Equal Pay Act claim go out and all this other stuff, and hammer. And we walk out and we said, we're going to win, but man, we may have gotten Ginsburg. And she just blasted us. She was in the dissent. But yeah, she
didn't you say she read her dissent from the bench?
Which they never do.
Which they don't do.
Never do. Yeah. Yeah.
So so this was a case about statute of limitations and whether or someone can bring an argument 19 years after something happened.
That's right. That's exactly what the case was about, man. But no one knows that.
Well, I mean, didn't you tell me one time that a fellow that you talk with, one of the guys at Goodyear, would call you and you would say...
My client called me up about every 6 months or so and say, hey, Jay, we did win that case, didn't we?
Because the media acted as if you lost, as if Lily Ledbetter was the big winner. Well, we'll talk about that. I want to talk about that in a minute because it's so important to bring up. Jay has reminded me over the years, from time to time this comes up because I know he has such intimate knowledge of it, that, it became a case about pay discrimination. And I want to remind people when pay discrimination on the basis of sex became illegal. And Jay knows intimately all about that. And we'll talk about it next. 21 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Okay, Parkway. It's only a 30-minute delay now. It was near 2 hours about half an hour ago. Still working that crash there. And here witnesses describe the moment a drunk driver plowed into people in downtown Nashville last night. That's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Think about you, Ken Weaver. It is 25 minutes after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jay St. Clair is our good friend, gambling buddy, and legal correspondent. If you have any legal questions, you can ask. And even without asking, several of them have come in on the super text line. We'll get to those coming up in just a moment. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. All of your questions of a legal nature and otherwise will be answered by my man, Jay St. Clair. So, before I go any further, what's it like knowing that somebody's going to be playing you in a movie?
Well, we've been talking about this for years, man, because I think the decision was 2007. So, they've been talking about making it into a movie for over 10 years. So by now it's, kind of old hat. But when it first happened, it was very funny because we had a lot of conversation. Well, who do you want to play you? Right? That's the first thing. And I said, well, look, I'm the comedy lawyer. They're not going to make me a likable person
Right.
or an attractive person, right? And I'd love for it to be Warren Beatty, but it'll probably be Ned Beatty reprising his role. Oh, shoot. What's the
Oh, you got Weaver with that one, Jay. That's pretty. Yeah, you'd like for it to be Warren, but it's probably going to be Ned.
Ned Beatty, that's right. Just like he was in Deliverance. But the best one that I heard, and I would have really liked this, but it's not a high budget movie, so they don't have these. But Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Tommy Lee would have been great for you.
That'd been perfect.
Yeah.
It'd been absolutely perfect because he's not very good looking, neither am I. But I think he's Southern. If he didn't, he missed his chance. And I think our mannerisms are kind of similar. So,
what do you think of Darren?
I'm sorry.
What do you think of Darren as the guy that's going to play you?
I don't know anything about him. Apparently, he's a doctor in a soap opera,
General Hospital.
So generally they pick pretty people to do that. So I guess that's okay. But it's like people. One of my partners who's really funny. She's the one that let me know all this is going on. And she says, well, I can't wait to hear him mangle your accent.
That's exactly what we talked about last hour. I kind of previewed you coming on, and I mentioned that you were about to have somebody play you in a movie. And if they pick somebody north of the Mason-Dixon line, they're just going to your accent's very distinct anyway.
Well, and it's funny you said that because when she wrote me that, I wrote back and said, do you think I have an accent?
I told the story. Didn't you tell me one time when you went to Yale and people started commenting on your accent and you're like, I don't have an accent. Y'all have got an accent.
No, I don't have it. I sound like everybody I know sounds. I sound like Walter Cronkite.
So before we get away from it, so the mischaracterization of this was probably intentional on the part of the mainstream media, and you can't really control what the media does with these types of things. But you spent the better part of a decade trying to remind people that this wasn't a case about pay discrimination. Because pay discrimination, you've taught me this, Jay, is currently based on sex. Is pay discrimination not illegal based on sex?
Let me think here for a minute. This is what, 2014, so 63, 73, 83, 93, 2003, 2013. It's been illegal for 61 years. It was made illegal in 1963, man.
Wow.
So this case was not about whether you can pay men and women differently. This case was about how long can you wait to sue and claim wage discrimination. And not surprisingly, the court said, well, you can't wait 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fair to the company. All right? The reason you have statutes of limitations is that claims grow stale. One of the key witnesses in this case, in fact, a man that she claimed the judge let everything into evidence. So she claimed this guy sexually harassed her, and that got into evidence. Well, he was dead. We couldn't call him to say, no, I didn't.
Right.
And so that's why you have statutes limited. And I learned this a long time ago, man. In the technicalities of the law lies the defense of the innocent.
Mm-hmm. That's what. Well, yeah,
not about winning the case on the technicality.
Well, and there's another aspect of this that kind of ingrained itself into popular culture discussion at the time, and that was this mystery note. I'm going to ask you about this mystery note in a second, because I know you love this one, because everybody talks about, she found this note where she got told that she didn't know that she was getting paid differently, but then an anonymous note was left. We'll get into that in a moment. Plus, many of your questions firing in on the Super Text line, and we'll get to all of those, 615-737-9986. It's Fri JAY on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you. Jay St. Clair is with us. We're in the midst of Fri JAY. We'll get to your calls momentarily. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 615-737-9986. Oh, this is so sweet. Kathy has written in, Jay, and she says, I love Tommy Lee Jones, but he's way too old to play Jay. Well, that's the thing. Isn't that nice? That's nice.
Is that Kathy?
That was Kathy. That's what she said.
Kathy, thank you. You made my day.
For those just joining us, 1088 says, what movie are we talking about? It's a movie that's coming out, I don't know, later on this year. It's called Lily. Is it out?
Yeah, the premiere was last weekend.
Oh, well, I got to go watch it.
It should be on the internet soon. We got to have a watch party.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. See what I see. I was just looking at the cast, and it's funny because, a lot of these folks are like DC people. And I guess once it graduates to the Supreme Court, they're going to focus on the guy that argued in front of the court. But I see UW Clement has been cast. Was that your judge in this case?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's one of the cases got to the Supreme Court.
I can't, two things. I can't believe we hadn't talked about this before. But two, it makes a lot more sense why you lost.
No, absolutely. Don't get me wrong, I love Judge Clement, a great guy. We have a good personal relationship, but boy, when he got on the bench, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was a different world, I imagine. Right. Well, Jay, real quick before I get to questions from the audience, you have fought this mystery letter for a long time, right? I mean, wasn't it argued? She publicly argued, and Lily Ledbetter's passed on now, and rest in peace, Lily Ledbetter, and I hope her family's okay, and all of those things. But she regularly on the talk show circuit talked about this mysterious note that she received. Tell me about this note.
Yeah, well, she claims that the reason she waited so long to bring her claims is she did not know she was being paid less than other people. And the only way she found out about it is one day she went to her desk, and right there on her desk was an anonymous note that showed the wages of all of her peers and hers. She knew what hers was, and she said it was only then that I knew the truth. And so I filed the case as soon as I could have. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she's told that story many times, man. But one place she did not tell that story?
Where's that?
At the trial.
In court?
In court. Or in her sworn testimony before the trial. She never said that under oath, man. It never was told. That was, I'm just going to say that was a fiction that began only after she lost the case. Mm-hmm. They didn't argue that in the Supreme Court.
So this idea of this anonymous mystery note never came up until after everything was decided.
That's right. And so what happens is, it makes them the national news, and the first law Obama passed reversed that case. So there's all those stories about it, and that's when she's talking about this note. And Glenn Kessler is the fact checker for the Washington Post. Uh-huh. And so he called me about it. And he said, hey, she's saying this about this. So what do you say? And I said, well, Glenn, here's what I say. Where's the note?
Yeah, ask her about the note. Where did she take the note?
He went silent for about 20 seconds. He said, Jay, that's a pretty good question. I said, yeah, well, ask her where the note is. And so we hang up. 20 minutes later, he calls him back. He says, well, she threw it away. Really? So Rosa Parks has the bench in the bus where she makes history, and she throws it away.
Wait, so you're saying that I just got an anonymous note on my seat telling me that I have been underpaid for 19 years, giving me this incredibly valuable information that I had no idea. I had no idea this was going on, and now I've got this information. They have been undervaluing me because I'm a woman for the almost 2 decades.
I have found the Holy Grail.
And I'm just going to toss that out.
I just told her once.
And not only toss it out, Jay, but I'm not going to bring it up in my sworn deposition.
Right.
We're not going to bring it up in trial.
Yeah.
We're not going to bring it up on appeal. Yeah. We're not going to bring it up at the Supreme Court. Yeah. Yet, 14 years later, you get asked about that note.
Well, that's what the lead on this movie is.
Oh, I guarantee you that note is all over this movie.
Absolutely. Well, where's the note? It should be in the Smithsonian.
Well, that's right. I mean, well, and it leads us, you mentioned it, the thing that Obama, and the media sadly mischaracterized that as well, and you and I talked a lot about it at the time that it was going on, but the legislation, the Lilly Ledbetter Act, did what, to your understanding, Jay?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what it did. It's called the Paycheck Accrual Rule, and what it says, Matt, is that you can challenge today any pay decision made any time in the past if it continues to have an effect on your pay today. That's a convoluted law. I practice law in this area. You know that a lot. That law has been on the books for 17 years. Guess how many cases I've had where that law made any difference?
Jay, based on my knowledge of you and based on the way that you asked that question, I'm going to guess 0.
You're getting to where you know me pretty well, don't you?
No
0, man. It made no real world difference because here's the deal, man. People don't wait 19 years to challenge a pay claim. They just don't do it. They don't wait 15 years. They don't wait 10 years. If they think they're being underpaid, and if they think it's because of their sex or race or age, they challenge it right away. People know what everybody makes. I mean, come on. If you don't know it exactly, you know it pretty close. And if you think you're being discriminated against because of your sex or race or age, you know it. You feel it in your heart. You feel it in your soul. So it just doesn't. This case was sui generis. And it was only because of Judge Clement. I hadn't thought about the fact we hadn't talked about that. Only Judge Clement would have let them try this case this way.
Yeah, because he just gave them kind of carte blanche at the trial level.
Yeah, no, that's right.
All right, Jay.
He's for plaintiffs. I mean, I love Judge Clement, but he's for plaintiffs.
Oh, sure. All right, Jay, a few questions before we have to let you go. 0036 out of Kentucky writes in and says, question for Jay. If I have a friend that owes the federal I love these friend questions, Jay. Yeah. I always love the friend question. This guy's got a friend that owes the federal government about $20,000 to the IRS. Yeah. Can said friend refinance his home or buy a home while he owes the government that amount of money?
Yeah, probably if they hadn't put a lien. The question is if they've gotten to the step of placing a lien, LIEN, on any of your property. That's, the IRS is very powerful. They don't lay back. They have a lot of enforcement mechanisms. And one of them is they place a lien on your property. If they have done that, you cannot sell it until you satisfy the lien. If they haven't, then you can. You would have gotten notice of the lien when you got it.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
But let me say this. You didn't ask this, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. There are a lot of people out there who advise people about how to settle up with the IRS. I've never used them, but I know some people who have, and I think you ought to check into their services.
Yes.
You might be able to whittle that down a little bit.
Yes, it is an area that I would firmly recommend you find an expert that understands where the back doors are in order to get you better access to an individual that can perhaps get you a better deal. I mean, it is worth the money that you spend on the front end. It has been my experience. I've never experienced it personally, but I had one. I'll say his name, Perry Cronin, the Axiom Tax Resolution Group in Birmingham, is one of those organizations that I believe in, and I've long believed that is, much like you lawyers, it might cost you a little on the front, but it's going to save you a lot on the back end.
Yeah, but to answer your question, you just find out if they put a lien on it yet. If they hadn't, go sell that house. I heard.
2305 writes in and says, my employer came up with a program to treat locations during COVID. I was given the task to work to disinfect facilities like office buildings during the COVID outbreak. My employer never offered me hazard pay. Am I crazy, or should they have paid me hazard pay?
There's nothing in the law that requires that. So the way you phrased the question, you said should have. Well, they're not required by law to do that. Boy, it would have been a great business practice. It would have been, I think, a really good thing to do as a business. But the law does not require that. Hazard pay is, it's not common. That only appears in very narrow circumstances. The only place I see it in my practice is I got a union contract. Well, Clair's got a union contract, and it's for a cement plant. And some of the work in the cement plant's very hazardous, and they do pay a little bit extra for that. But it's not common, and there's no law that requires it.
Next up is Marie. She's on the phone out of Nashville. Marie, you're on with Jay St. Clair and the Matt Murphy Show. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, hi, love you guys. I have a quick question. My mom's 85 years old, lives with me. She worked at, I don't want to say the location, but a Sam's Club for 2 years, was a great employee. She was in the apparel department, did a great job, got a lot of letters from people there, how good she was. Long story short, her lead guy, the supervisor, is a ex-military / so-called manager. And so the verbal abuse from him was pretty bad, and she did go to a couple of supervisors there and tell them. She went to HR, told them about the harassment that went on and on. And then about 6 months ago, he came up to her and said, I'm not allowed to talk to you unless there's 2 other people around. So after he wasn't allowed to talk with her, cuss at her, abuse her, then he started she was on the night shift with him, and he started taking the forklift, slamming stuff next to her while she was folding clothes because she was in the apparel department, 8-hour shifts. Long story short, it got to the point where she was coming home crying, breaking out in rashes, scared to death of him. And it just went on every shift. And then they hired another girl that would whisper with him. They would chat. And then he had this young girl actually following my mom to the point where she was following my mom into the restroom, following her into the break room. So the harassment just went on and on. My mom several times told HR, and they never did anything to him at all. She finally wrote a final letter, and gave it to one of the managers, telling them she could no longer sustain the harassment, how scared she was of this ex-Marine that was working there. And the abuse just got so bad. So now she gave up $2,500 a month, which was a huge amount.
Did she quit?
Yes, she quit.
All right, she quit.
How long ago did she quit?
She quit. He's still there, and she is seeing a therapist now weekly. And she's scared to death. She closes all the windows, the shades, thinking he's going to follow her. So it was just a bad situation. So I was just wondering what you suggest we do.
So I couldn't understand you. Is she still working there, or did she quit?
Oh, she quit. She wrote a long letter and submitted the letter.
How long ago, Marie? How long ago?
She quit in May.
Okay.
Well, you need to go to the EOC. She needs to go to the EOC right away. It's June, July, August, September. She needs to go to the EOC right away and file a charge of discrimination. It'd be nice if she talked to a lawyer first, but she's got to do that, real quick. The statute of limitations we were talking about earlier is running. She only has 180 days. Is she in Tennessee?
Yes. We're outside.
Call the EEOC and file a charge. In the meantime, be looking for an employment lawyer.
Employment lawyer. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Do it right away.
She's going
right away. Don't wait.
Yeah, but like Jay just said a couple of times, and I want to make sure you heard him, Marie, really quick, because you said the statute's 180 days, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you get on it and call us back if you need any further assistance, or email me and I can get you in contact with Jay. Okay, Marie?
Can't find a lawyer you're happy with, get in touch with Matt or me, and we'll hook you up with somebody.
Okay, appreciate it so much. Yeah,
absolutely.
She's a wonderful she was wonderful there. She had lots of letters from people saying how great she was.
Awful.
She showed up on time, but this one person for 2 straight years, charging at her, attacking her. I mean, it was. I had to come in a few times.
I'm sorry she had to deal with that, but we're gonna give you some justice.
Yeah, Marie, and I mean that's the first step is that you got to get it on record, right, Jay, at the EEOC?
Yeah, you got to file a charge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. That's great advice, Jay. We are simply out of time, my friend. I've enjoyed it. You know I always do, and I love you, brother. You take care down there.
Love you, buddy.
All right, take care. There's Jay St. Clair.